All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the live today. Kind of dreary day here where I'm located. I always hate those anymore, but looking forward to doing this with you. Um, been a lot going on with this case, that's for sure, and I've been watching a lot of stuff, and it's really unbelievable what we're finding out, especially this stuff about the Ray thing, which I want to definitely talk about with you. So we'll give it a few minutes and let people gather in here. I know I like to try to start right on time. The audience usually builds pretty quick, but good to see you there, Donna. Awesome. Horns up. My eyesight's still not the best, but I go in for my surgery probably in April or early May, so that should help. Here's Catherine S. Awesome. Catherine S. I thought it was funny, Catherine, when you ordered the book and your PayPal address I had to get to send it to you, and it said Catherine S. I was like, okay, well, I guess her last name is just S, so that's fine. I just thought it was funny. All right, let's see. I got some notes for you today. So yeah, basically with my lives, I don't really have much of a problem, thankfully, with people getting stupid and wanting to be difficult. But if we see any of that, we'll get rid of it. I know I'll have a few mods in there in the crowd today, including myself, so we can get rid of that. But don't want to tolerate it, really. I mean, just it's stupid, juvenile nonsense that for some reason people think is funny or whatever, but it's just stupid. So it's a waste of time. But I'm still getting Horns High Studios together for me to go back out there again. I screwed up when I had the contractor out here putting the ramps in for me. Forgot to tell him to put a ramp up into the garage. I didn't realize it at the time because I wasn't using it, but I need one out there. So my co-host for the podcast, Chris, he's pretty handy, so he's going to come over here and build one, and then I'll be able to get into the garage and the studio and do this from there, because I prefer to do these kind of things from there. But the dining room is a dining room, but I've got it set up to where at least you can see my Lovecraft. I think it's a Lovecraft map type cool thing. And then over here, the Vincent Castiglia blood art, which I mentioned that another time with you, an artist that paints in blood. And that right there is a print. So there's no blood there, but he does his actual paintings in blood, really unbelievable. The detail is just crazy. And there was an album that won a Grammy, Greg Allman, I think it was his last album, and it had to do with like his family and his heritage, and like really into the whole genealogy thing and stuff. And so he sought out Vincent to do his album cover with his blood. So they used Greg Allman's blood and his family, and they used that to paint the cover, and it won a Grammy. It's pretty amazing. And if you see the cover, you wouldn't believe that that's what he used to paint it, because it just looks like that sepia kind of look to it. But that's, I guess, blood and paint, there's not much of a difference between the two, so they work pretty similarly, I've learned. So it's pretty interesting. So not everybody's into that, but that was the tamest poster of his I could find to put up in the house, because at the time I didn't have the studio, and out there is where all the craziness is. All right, good to see everybody here. Catacomb, man, that's cool. That's cool. Did a lot of research on catacombs for my last book. As a matter of fact, perfect segue. My last short story collection, which is Creation and Chaos 4, Volume 4, with the glare coming in. I'm trying to angle it right. Creation of Chaos, Volume 4, but this has got like a dozen stories in it. But they're all, horror, suspense, that sort of thing. But there's a story in here that I did that I really liked, and it's deals with catacombs and those things. I did a lot of research on the ones in Europe when I wrote the story, and did some video. There's a lot of YouTube videos about them. And I did some of the tours through the catacombs, like in France, and then the bone chapels. So the story is called Chapel of Bones. As a matter of fact, I've got an audio version of it that I'm probably going to release sometime, maybe this week, on the channel, just so it's already out there, but it'll be easier for you to find it. And it's just me reading the story, but it's a good one. It's really spooky, but no slashing and hacking. There's a little bit of that kind of stuff in my writing, but not much really. If the horror thing kind of makes you think, oh, I don't like that stuff, give it a chance, because you might. I know my boss, who's not a horror fan in the least, used to love to read my stories when I was working there. So anyway, but so yeah, I'll give one of those books away at the end. So you got to stay all the way to the end. The question I'm going to ask you is so insultingly simple that I would hope that we get a lot of people entering to win that one. But it's a U.S. thing only. The shipping is just brutal. I had 2 books from last week I need to get out. So anybody that ordered one, I'm sorry I didn't get it out sooner. It's just difficult because I'm home by myself all day. My wife's at work, and then when she gets home, the post office is closed. So it's like really difficult to figure out how to get up there. When the weather gets nice, I can actually take my scooter up there. I live in a small enough town I could drive the scooter on the road, which would look kind of funny. But fat guy in a little scooter. But the VA took good care of me. They got me a nice scooter and a wheelchair and a walker. I mean, I've got all kinds of stuff. They put in all these ramps. I mean, they were here within a couple of weeks of me being home. So I can't say enough about the VA. They've been fantastic. So yeah, the catacomb thing, it's just such a cool, the bone chapels are fascinating. There's one in the Czech that's the most insane. There's a chandelier made completely of every human bone in the body. It comprises this chandelier. It's like stunning, very morbid, but still like stunning. And I just thought it was fascinating. They built the chapel with the bones of their parishioners. That's how you end up, as you end up in the chapel. I mean, it's like pretty deep stuff. So in my story, I did it where an army conquered another, and then they built the chapel out of the bones of their enemy. So it was like damned from the beginning. And that's the premise of the Chapel of Bones. So I think you might like it if it sounds interesting to you. I will do the best I can on these comments on the chat, but I'm going to be honest with you. It's very hard for me to see it. At this time of the day, this room is pretty lit up, and I've got the light on, or it would have been too dark. So I'll do my best. But see, Catacomb Man says, cool premise. Yeah, it's a couple of college kids. They graduate, and parents give them a gift to go to Europe for the summer. So they take a little trip, and they end up in Italy, and they take a tour of this Chapel of Bones, and they decide they want to be slick and they want to stay there the night because there's like rumors that there's this ghost that walks the halls kind of thing. So they stay the night, and then things go south pretty quick, and it gets pretty crazy. And so, yeah, I'll tell you that much, Catacomb Man. But it's a good one. It's the first story in the book, and like I said, I did the audio book. If you're really that interested, if you search, I bet if you search for Murder Metal Mayhem Chapel of Bones, you'll probably find it, because I did it. I did it, and we used it as a bonus episode on the podcast, so it's out there. So, but I'm going to make a video and kind of put a little tag at the beginning and end for it. But if you really just want to hear it, you can go on there and do that. So, all right, very good. So yeah, everybody, just be nice. No reason to get stupid here. We're all commonly into one thing, and that's true crime. And I know a lot of the creators talk about, the community and all that. I definitely can feel it here with you guys. I'd see a lot of you, saying nice things and glad you're back and health and all that. And man, it means a lot. It definitely means a lot. See my friend A.R. Hayes is here with his convict's thoughts. A.R. Hayes, he just called me right before I started this. So what a great channel, though. He's got such good stuff on there. And speaking of that, next Sunday, you're going to get to hear me and Mr. A.R. Hayes as we do a live together next Sunday. So my live next weekend will be on Sunday. I think that's the 6th at 4 o'clock Central. And that will be me and AR talking some Idaho 4 for you. So that should be good. So yeah, but just go check out his channel. I mean, we always promote each other, and I think that's great. Same with Unfiltered Lucky. He's a great guy, and I'm working on getting him in here in April as well to do a live with me. We just haven't nailed the date down, but we're looking to do it in sometime in April. So yeah, so you get to see me and Lucky, and then I'm sure we'll be doing another one with the three of us too, because that's been very popular. A lot of people really like to hear the three of us talking about stuff. So that's cool. I mean, I love working with those guys, and I know the feeling is mutual. So that's just great. I love to be able to get along with people like that, and Lucky and AR are just great people. So, all right. I'm also going to do something. I debated this, but I've had so many people in the comments asking me, and even a couple of emails about the band days, because the last video, one of the last videos I did, I mentioned, I played the band for, I played in bands for years and years, but the last band I was in, Low 12, we were together for 18 years, So we've got 6 albums and live DVDs and all this stuff, but that world is done. I finished that in 2016. We stopped, and so then the podcast started, and then this started so that's been like a progression to this, but so I don't play anymore, but every now and then people will ask, and it's cool. I mean, I had a good time doing it, but I didn't really expect to see much interest here, but I've had a few people, and then, like I said, in comments asking about it, wanting to see stuff. So I've got a video that I'll show at some point later of me singing and playing bass in Low 12, and it's pretty cool. It's a video we did. We used to pride ourselves in doing everything as cheap as possible and making it as good as we could, and being an independent band and all. So we made this video for, I think it was like $5 is what it wound up costing in total, but it's a demolition site with buildings half torn down, big commercial building all half tore down, and the song is called Brutal World. It's really cool, and a friend of mine was tearing it down, so we were able to get the permission to go in there and do it. So it was really cool, and we did a day shoot and a night shoot with lights and stuff. It really looked wicked. So I'll let you see that. Some of you may have already seen it because it's been out there for years, but I'll share at least some of it with you. Might scare people away, but later on, I'll do that for you if you want, because I've had some people ask about it. If heavy metal's not your thing, it's okay. There's a mute button. You could just mute it and let it go. The vocals, though, you'd probably be surprised just hearing me talk and then hearing me sing are two very different things. But you can see. I'm looking here in the chat here. All right, very good. I did also get an order for my Deeper Than Dead book. I was going to mention this. It's a deluxe one, the color one from Canada, and I got to email that person. But if that person somehow is listening or watching this, I don't ship. I mean, I could ship it anywhere you want, but it's going to cost more than the shipping that was in there because it says on there that it's U.S., but it happens. So no worries. I can figure out how much it would be and then let you know. And if you still want it, we can do that, add that on. And if not, I can refund you the money. I completely get it because it's just crazy how much they want to send stuff, even just to Canada from here. I mean, it just seems dumb, but it is what it is, right? All right, very good, very good. I'll do my best, to get to the questions. Like I said, especially when I'm doing this alone, it's a little hard for me to see it. And with these cataracts that I got, it doesn't make that any fun. But it's easily correctable. So I'm anxious. The hyperbaric chamber did wonders. My leg is basically healed. I've got a couple of small band-aids on the stump there, but it doesn't really hurt anymore, so that's good. So the prosthetic, be getting that ordered here relatively soon and get myself starting to work with crutches and learning how to do that. So it's going to be a road to still travel, but anxious to get back up on 2 feet again. But I'm getting around pretty good with this wheelchair, but I'd still rather walk than sit in this chair. I have had people asking me about, like the donations and stuff. Again, guys, I don't even bring it up other than that people ask. You could do super chats if you like. I know some of you have, and I really appreciate that. I had somebody send me a PayPal, which is fine. Then this way it all goes to me instead of 30% to YouTube. But however you do it, just being here, hanging out with us is worth enough. But if you want to go beyond that, that's up to you. Okay, never ever expect it. But if you want to do a Cash App, I've got that too, and I'll have a thing at the bottom of the screen that'll show you that, so you'll be able to see that, the links and stuff to that. The Horns High Club, members only live, the very first one. We're going to try it tomorrow. It's Sunday, March 30th at 4 p.m. Central. Just doing a live for the members. I've never done that before, but I do see in StreamYard how to do it. So I'm assuming it's not going to be that big of a deal. And I don't know how it works if you get like notified or how that works because I've never done one before, but we'll try it. And it'll be open to like whatever you want to talk about, within reason, of course. And if you're a member, you can get in on that. The membership is low at only $1.99 a month. I kept it low just to make it affordable for everybody. And we're going to start doing those members only lives every weekend. So that'll be a new thing. So to try to make it more worth what you're paying. I know you're not paying a whole lot for it, but it's money, and everybody's, everything's so expensive today. I know it's not easy. Believe me, I get it. So this should be good. I know the last live really went great. Was really felt like we got a lot covered and we had a good time doing it. we'll do that contest at the end. And if you want to take a second and like the video or the live, drop a comment below. If you're on the replay crew, you want to get in on the chat. It's a lot of fun. People get in there and get some good questions and, back and forth going. I wanted to go over the first thing I wanted to go over because it's just so insane is this Cy stuff. Wow. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you probably are familiar with what's going on with Cy, but it's really crazy. I mean, what do you guys think about it? I mean, has anybody been oh wow, very nice of Catacomb Man doing a super chat. Hell yeah, that's cool, man. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the amazing Donna Lembo, who is just an amazing supporter of Horns High and everything we do here. Donna's awesome. And she gifted 5 memberships. So 5 of you lucky viewers will get to become members just because Donna's being nice today. That's really, really cool. Awesome to see. Appreciate that. All right. So the Cy thing. Oh my gosh. I mean, I got to give credit where credit's due. I always do that. I watch some channels pretty regularly. Some I watch for certain reasons. Some I might like the host. Like Harsh. I really like the way he does what he does. I like his personality. He's got some good info too, but I just like the guy. I think he'd be fun to hang out and drink a beer with. And I don't even drink beer, but he looks like a really cool dude, right? And then there's some I listen to more for the information, detailed stuff like Jules of All Trades. I mean, she's been killing it with all these docs coming out. I watched part of her live the other night and trying to soak in to get ready for this live today. And then I watched one that Lana did with Truth and Transparency. I mean, those two of those, especially Lana, I mean, man, talk about putting in the work. I mean, she is just all over it. I'm surprised Cy or one of those places doesn't hire her. Same with Jules. I mean, they're like really, really giving it their all. And I think that's cool. This is a different kind of channel. I'm not going to sit here and read to you. Not that there's anything wrong with that because I watched it myself for hours. But I don't do that. So I'm more like commentating on what I think about it, talking with you, what you guys think about it, try to come up with some theories and things that make sense. But man, the Cy stuff is just absolutely crazy. And I don't know if all of you have seen any of this stuff, but this is just within the last day or so. But the prosecution's been dropping some little bombs. The mainstream media going nuts, talking about it. But like the Brian's final at DeSales University, criminology. What did they expect them to be writing about? The babbling brook or bunnies running through the yard. I mean, it's a criminology course. It's ridiculous. That's what he's there to learn, and it's all about the paper. I heard some of it read about the crime scene investigation and how to button down the scene and all that. I mean, it was very impressive. I mean, it sounded like a textbook, so he's very talented, certainly, qualified, I'm sure, to be getting his PhD. I think that's super cool. It's just, man, this has been quite an interruption in that, I mean, imagine that, you're cruising, you're doing what you love, you're in a PhD program. As soon as you get done with that, you can go into teaching or, whatever you're going to do with it, professors make good money and pretty chill schedule. I mean, man, this guy could write books. I mean, he could do all kinds of stuff. But I've told him, hey, if you want me to write your book, I would be happy to do that for you. I'd even let him stay in Horns High. I mean, he could crash in the studio and we'll write the book. And then that would be really cool. From what I heard, he doesn't need me to help him write. He's really very, like I said, very, very smart guy, very talented. So if this is all bogus, man, talk about a total wrench thrown in his life. You know what I mean? And even if he walks away from it, he's still going to have this over his head his whole life. I mean, he'll always be known as that guy that they thought, did that. And a lot of people will probably think he's guilty and he got out for free, that would be terrible, but there's a lot of people we know, a lot of the guilters out there, I don't see a lot of them here because, you guys are usually in agreement with what I think about it, but I'm sure there's some that don't agree, but most of us agree with that. So, it's hard to I couldn't imagine going to a channel I hated and just be a jerk about it, just I always say just go watch something else, if you want to it just doesn't make any sense to be angry like that, at least in my opinion it doesn't. So getting back to Ray, so he writes this response, this whole lemony, they're back and forth on what they're going to let into the court proceedings, which is kind of interesting. I mean, I'm learning, like we all do when we watch this true crime stuff, learning all kinds of things. I had never heard of that before that I can recall ever hearing that, talking true crime. So this is just interesting. And I'm not sure if it's just an Idaho thing or if it's just something I never heard of. But yeah, so the response was just devastating. I mean, he got all this, he went through the information that the prosecution turned over in regard to, the phone data and all of that. And it was a complete mess. I mean, he did it in a classy way. He wrote it in a way where he definitely made his points. I agree. He definitely made points, but he was, just kind of just devastating with some of these lines he had. But I mean, really ridiculous stuff. And so basically, and I'm a layman with this. Like I said, not all up on all the legal jargon, but basically, what happened was, in order to get the data off of Brian's phone, he had an AT&T phone, and they flashed his phone number on the screen. I'm wondering how many of you saw that and wrote it down or put it in your phone. See, I thought maybe I'd put it in my phone in case he gets out and he gets his old phone back, like, let me see how many voicemails I've got, kind of thing. And then he's like, let's call this guy, back. But no, they showed his phone, and then they got the data from AT&T, and there's two different kinds of this data. The one that's the best is, obviously what they want, but they didn't like the results they got when they ran it on Brian. So as far as I understood it, there were like 3,800 people in that area that had these AT&T phones, and trying to figure out who was all in that area. And then they match it against Brian's phone. And then, of course, it comes back. He wasn't there from 3 to 5 a.m., which is what they were searching for, those 2 hours. So the guy's not there in the time that you say he did this. So, of course, you could say he could have left his phone at home, which is completely possible. Just like we heard with the guys over at Sigma Chi. leaving their phones in autoplay on YouTube and maybe going to do that coming back. It's certainly possible, right? But they were trying to say like he had his phone and he's switching it off and this kind of thing. Well, he was completely not even around. So I think that that's pretty devastating, not to mention the fact that because of the way they got the information, and they being the FBI had an inside source at AT&T that they worked with apparently to get phone information from people that they were, investigating and that sort of thing. But at the time, they at AT&T they were putting this department or this group together, work group, I think they called it, of people there that would answer these sort of complaints or questions about, I need this data. So you have like a department that just handles that. But it wasn't fully operational yet. But this guy, this backdoor, contact, he's getting them the information they need, but it's not done the proper way because it's supposed to be going through this new department, but he just thought, oh, well, whatever, it's the FBI, give them what they want. But in my opinion, I mean, if that's what they did, and that's what it sure sounded like from the report that Ray wrote, is that because of that, now does that make the warrant and the arrest even warranted? Because if you used false information or, the fruit of the poisonous tree kind of thing, then you can't use it, so do you have to let him go? I mean, and then what about the search warrants? I mean, there's all sorts of things that are going to be problematic now, but I mean, it's in the judge's hands at this point, but I don't understand why we don't somehow, just drag these people in and start asking them some damn questions, because this is outrageous. This is outrageous. Jeff, want to say thanks for the super sticker. Appreciate that. And he said, I was just about to send you this on another account when AR blocked me. There's always another way. Have a great day, Pete. Thank you. Appreciate that. So yeah, so they were pulling at the FBI, they were pulling some shenanigans to get some money, or to get what they wanted, and so this is just not right. Not in the United States. It shouldn't be happening. But it wasn't just one person, and that makes this even more insidious. As there's a group of people that would have had to have been involved. And that's what Ray talks about. So first and foremost is Ashley Jennings, and she's one of the prosecutors. I'm sure most of you know that name and know who I'm talking about. And like I said, she lied because she was the one that wrote that warrant and said that the most current AT&T phone tracking info was used, but it was not. They used the less reliable source, which is, weak at best. We've heard enough about that with the phone pings and all of that. That's like old technology, and this newer stuff would be able to pinpoint it almost exactly where the phone was. So the fact that then later when she was asked about it, she said that it was not available in November of 22. That's why they used that other pings on Brian. But yet what they didn't say was that they actually ran the other test on the 3800 phones. So they did know how to do that. It was available in November of 22. And so she lied when she was asked about the method that was used to gather the information. Totally busted. And she ran a separate one on Brian's phone, not including him in the other 3800, and nothing was found there. So that's pretty ridiculous. And that's just messed up when you're using, a route to get what you want from, from somebody that, you're not supposed to use those methods. That's what the laws are for. So, people have a fair trial. It seems like anything but a fair trial, with this one here. I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of the shadiness going on. I mean, just that in and of itself, right? That to create the arrest warrant and the PCA and all this, they had to come up with this, BS about the type of tests they used and or data they gathered, and it was not what they said. And that technology was available back in 22, but they did it in a Ray talks about, outside the bounds of normal practices, and he goes into like his resume at the beginning of these of the documents, and it's ridiculous. I mean, the guy's got 30 years of experience. I mean, he's done thousands of these tests. I mean, the guy is just off the charts qualified. So there's really not much they say about him at all. But that's pretty interesting though, the way they do this with the phones. I mean, it's really fascinating. But they fictitiously put this thing together, and that's not where it ends. I mean, it kept going. I couldn't believe some of the stuff they were talking about. Now, Sy, in his conclusion, said it was the worst he'd ever seen in 30 years that he's worked with. And as we all know, Sy is always testified for the prosecution. This is the very first case. He said he had been approached with others, but this is the first case that he accepted on the defense side. And so if he's going out on a limb, probably burning some bridges with some people he, relationships with in the law enforcement side, the fact that he's, doing this for the Koberger case. But hats off to the guy for doing the right thing, because he knew that this was messed up and that they didn't follow any normal protocols. Everything they did was shady. Detective Mowry was one that they mentioned a lot in there from Moscow. Of course, we all know Brett Payne. So the three of them look like, at least to me, that they're in the hot seat. Probably goes beyond that, but at a minimum, it's them, because they're the ones that put all that stuff together. So wouldn't have been possible for one of them to not know what was going on when they were all working on this together. So that's, and as you know, I mean, when you catch somebody doing something they shouldn't be doing, chances are it's not the first time they've been doing that, right? So who knows how much of this nonsense goes on. I mean, we hear about it. I know, from lives I've done with AR, talking about the system and how it, some people get, unfairly prosecuted and put in prison. It's scary stuff. But it's did that happen here? I don't know. I mean, I just don't know. But it just seems like, the amount of experience he's got, and then his feedback saying is the worst he'd ever seen. I mean, that's a pretty, serious, allegation. That's for sure. And I'm sure he would not put it on the line. He said he would swear to it. Everything he wrote in his response, everything, he would swear to it under oath. So again, strong statements. A guy like that can't afford to, have something come back and make him look stupid. So, I'm like I said, very impressed with him. I think that's super cool that he's doing this to help an innocent person potentially. I don't know that Brian Koberger's innocent, but I know that everybody's presumed innocent until we're found guilty. So I'm willing to at least give him that. But Sy seems to think he wasn't even anywhere near any what they say. So the prosecution pinning it down to that 3 to 5 a.m. I mean, they were very adamant about that 4 o'clock, 4:05 or whatever it was, start to the crimes because they were trying to get it to fit their video of the cars. And that's a whole other fiasco. And that Syray gets into some of that too, but I didn't get to watch a lot on that part of it. But he gets into that too about the cameras and it didn't jive with what they said. And so they may have been playing games with that too. But that's where I believe that 4:05 or whatever start time they were using. And then of course you got the text messages from those two, Dylan and Bethany. They're all trying to make it seem like that's when it happened, But I know a lot of people, including me, that it was not what the time that they said. You could have people come over there and do that and take showers before they left, and had still had plenty of time if they would have done it early. But I don't know, but they still the 3 to 5 a.m. would have caught even that, but it didn't catch anything with his phone. So looking here at the comments, yeah, this DoorDash delivery has got me curious. I thought I saw somewhere, but I didn't watch the video that they believe that Xana's phone did the DoorDash earlier. So now there's question of was that off with the 4:15 or whatever time they said, or whatever time they had it on there. Delivery was at 4, but all this 4 o'clock stuff. I mean, my gosh, you got this quadruple homicide going down. You got, somebody showing up to bring them Taco Bell, and you got, or whatever they had delivered, Jack in the Box. I've heard both. I remember in the early days, I was on a live or something, and I said that it was Taco Bell, and somebody got all stupid that it was Jack in the Box. But apparently the counter in there had all kinds of those takeout bags in there. So the fact that that one was in the picture doesn't necessarily mean that's what they ordered, but whatever it was, that it was ordered earlier. So I'm not sure about that. But looking here in the chat, trying to see if anybody's got anything I want to weigh in on. But yeah, the DoorDash, I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Do you guys think that somebody legitimately in DoorDash dropped off with their food? It was a contactless order, so it was just left, at the doorstep. But what do you guys think about that? Looking here to see if anybody's got. Tony Stevenson, that's a good comment, my friend. I had the same question when I first did videos on Goer, and it's Goer. I was actually corrected by a couple people from Moscow about that because I was calling him Gower because that's what it kind of looks like it would be, but it's Goer, apparently is how he says it. But Goer, you know, with the Taco Bell receipt that he had. That's why I brought that up in that live. That's funny that you comment this because that was the last thing I was just talking about. I was in a live. I think it was a live. Might have been a video. I don't recall. And I was like, that's kind of ironic that he was there at Taco Bell picking up his food right after he dropped off some food for them, or maybe he did at the same time, ordered two different meals and dropped them off just to kind of bring this mystique of who was the DoorDash driver and all that. I don't know. I mean, I've wondered if Goer could have been the DoorDash driver. I mean, it would kind of make sense. I mean, if he's out driving around, why not, right? I mean, why not? So, and then here's somebody else with this. Yeah, pizza. Melissa here saying pizza. I know that Xana and Ethan supposedly had pizza earlier that night. I mean, they were college kids, you know. I mean, that's what they eat is just crap. Um, so pizza and Taco Bell and all that stuff. I mean, especially nowadays, I know I get spoiled here. Now they finally started coming to this small town I live in, the DoorDash and all that. It's nice to have it again because you can't in a small town. There's not a lot of options for food like that, so it's nice to be able to order something from the bigger city nearby. But yeah, so yeah, I don't know whether it was Taco Bell or not, but I thought that was funny when I saw his comment. Um, and I see someone here. Commenting about picking up Dylan and dropping her off. I wondered that too because thanks for that, Amber Howard. Um, I wondered that too because Dylan's calling him at 2:10, right? And or texting him, and then are you driving? And then he replied that he was, and then that's all we know. So I mean, she wasn't asking him if he was driving just because she, just wondered if he was driving around. She would be calling him for a ride or, for some other reason. And I've often wondered too, maybe it's just the writer in me, but could that be some sort of code? You know what I mean? Like, hey, I'm going to call you and I'm asking you if you're out right. That means, did you do it yet kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, honestly, if they were smart enough to do that, they wouldn't have been dumb enough to, be texting each other and be on Instagram and every other damn thing with their phones. I mean, I don't know what they were thinking, but whatever it is, it's either that they're that stupid or that's a distraction. That's the shiny object we're supposed to be chasing. That's the thing with these, sometimes with criminals, some are incredibly smart. I know for the podcast, I've done some cases where, man, I mean, these guys are just unbelievably intelligent. It's like if they would have just used it for good stuff instead of bad things, it would be so much better. But the Texas Seven, that prison escape would be one that comes to mind. The guy that planned that was just incredibly smart. But I don't know. I don't know with this case. I mean, it's got me, just wondering, you know, what else are we going to find out? What else are we going to learn about this that, is not what we were thinking? But I know a lot of people really are interested in that Eric Goer. I know every time I do a video on him, it gets a lot of views. That's not why I do them. I do them because I find it interesting, and I do find it very, very strange that this guy somehow doesn't get any attention. He's just kind of like hanging out. Meanwhile, he's potentially the last person that saw two of them alive. And that for some reason doesn't seem to get the police that concerned. Could it be that his wife works at the police department? She's the head of the FOIA request. Could that be the reason why they don't really pay much attention to him? I don't know. Makes you wonder. And then he plays Santa Claus at their Christmas parties and stuff. He's all buddies with them. So that's the problem with these smaller towns like this. I mean, it almost gets like it's like a cult. That's why I've said like this whole Moscow, these crimes and stuff reminds me of like a mixture of like, The Sopranos with like Green Acres, like this weird like two ends of the spectrum, and you got all these crimes going on, and like a Twilight Zone kind of stuff happening. That's what it sounds like to me. Children of the Corn. I mean, all these just like weird small town cult like activities. is what these guys remind me of. So that may be why Goer just slips through the cracks. But I know I mentioned it in my last video I did on him. I mean, this guy had some scary stuff going on in his private life with his Pinterest page. Had all these weapons all over it. The Batchety, which is a bat with machete blades coming out of it. I mean, my gosh. And you know, when you hear about the extent of some of those injuries those guys had, the Batchety sounds like that. Like that's what did some of that stuff, or at least the machete. I don't think it was a knife. I think some of the wounds may have been inflicted with a knife, but some of those, big gouges and tears as they were explained. I mean, you're not going to get that with a knife. I mean, not at least not quickly, but you start swinging a machete or a hatchet, an axe, something like that at people. We know there was that axe throwing contest there in Moscow that night. So who knows, right? Who knows? You got people all fired up, drunk. I mean, we've all been around people that are drinking, but boy, there's a lot more going on here than just that. This was certainly a pent up, some sort of hit, I think, that's related to narcotics or cash or both. I don't see anybody getting that motivated to do something like this without something like that in the mix. I'm not seeing it. I don't know what you guys think. Let's see. Looking here. I was wondering if anybody was. I was actually, if I had time, I was going to make one, but it would just be like fruit juice because I'm not a drinker. But the Borg thing, the Dylan drinking that Borg. I don't know what you guys think about that, but there's no way she drank that much. I mean, I made fun of it in my video I did, saying that, I've been around people for years that, claiming they do this and that, but it's exaggerated storytelling stuff. So I'm thinking that that's what that had to be. Or maybe she was trying to lay it on thick to the cops to show how out of it she was so they wouldn't suspect her. If she's that drunk and passed out, they'd figure she couldn't have done this. Whether they gave her any kind of, urine, blood test, anything like that, I doubt it. Of course, who knows, but that should have been first thing. Those two girls run every test you got to run on them and those victims as well. But we know Kathy Mabbitt said she didn't think the toxicology was important. Well, seriously, how do we know they weren't drugged and they passed out from that? And so it made going through there quite a bit easier when you're dealing with people that are passed out. I don't know. I just don't know, but it's strange that they don't mention any of that. So, but the Borg thing, the blind out raging gallon or whatever it is, apparently is a new thing with the college crowd filling up these empty gallon jugs with alcohol, some water, like fruit juice or like flavoring, because most of them, they were all colored, different drinks. And then they put in a packet of electrolytes in there so that they don't get the hangover. And they got it all covered there, one cocktail. And they just carry that thing around with them. I don't know. I think that would be a real pain in the butt to walk around a party with this gallon jug, but that's their thing. But yeah, she said she drank that. She drank champagne, 10 seltzers, so like those White Claws, and then various alcohol in a drinking game, and a Borg all by herself in that night before this happened. So I don't know. Plus, I mean, if she had other substances in her body too, who knows? But I don't even know how even the fact that she's a taller girl, I don't know how she would. I don't know how she would be that intoxicated. To me, it seems like it was an exaggeration. But yeah, I thought that was fun. I was wondering if one of you guys was going to have a board there. So just looking here through the comments. Yeah, somebody here says she's Victorine. What's up? That she's tall, but she's slender. So yeah, she wasn't like some big, linebacker or anything, that's for sure. But she wasn't this little petite girl either. Um, but still, that's a lot of alcohol. I mean, I played bands for a long time. I never had anything like that going on. So it's one of those things where I've seen a lot of people drinking and a lot of craziness playing in bands, and I've never seen somebody consume that much alcohol in one night and be upright at all. So, but here's another comment here from Tracy. Being under the influence makes her an unreliable witness. I agree with you, Tracy, especially in a case where the whole world is watching. Very, very true. Good point. I agree. I mean, I did a video on that called Reliable Witness. I mean, how in the hell is that girl going to be a reliable witness? Whether you're going to believe that she was that hammered, because if that's the case, I wouldn't put an ounce of faith in anything she says on a description of an attacker. That's for sure, right? But when it comes to the rest of it, I mean, so if she wasn't that drunk and she just lied and said she drank all that, but she really didn't because she wanted to be sober for what was going to happen, and she was somehow involved in it, then that in of itself makes her less credible for lying like that and being deceitful, and for what reason. So I think however you slice it with Dylan, no matter what we find out, if we ever find out what really happened with her, I don't think there's any way, she walks away from this not looking like a complete dirtbag, and I think she should at least do the year that you have to do in Idaho for not reporting a crime. Um, you know, that she should have called 911 much sooner than 8 hours. We all know that, but I think at a bare minimum, she should be charged the fine, which is I think $1,000, which is nothing, but still, she should get the max that she could possibly get, and all of them should, not just her. All of them should. Those kids that were there fooling around, I mean, I don't know what the hell they were doing there, that they had to be, hanging out at a house with 4 bodies in it. But I think they all should face that penalty. And then what about the parents? They were calling their parents. What about that? Right? You got parents being called, and they know now about it. They're not reporting it either. So look at here, we're hitting over 200 people in the live. That's really cool. I know last week we had quite a crowd. It had like 200 or 300 in the chat, and then the total views was like over 1,000 the first round, and then the replay got more. But I always appreciate you guys watching the videos. So yeah, Dylan, she's an easy punching bag in this case, and that part of the reason is because she just looks shifty. The things she did are shifty. I mean, who could sit there and let that happen to their friends? I mean, what kind of friend was that? We heard that she had issues with Kaylee. She didn't like the dog. I mean, there were some things like that, but this goes so far beyond that. I mean, my gosh, that's why I think there had to be something else underlying going on there. I mean, Maddie was, or the lock on Xana's door. I've seen some people say that was a misread, that the interview with their dad, he said something else and it sounded like the lock or something. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure that he did come in there and put another lock, a stronger lock on her door. And there would have been no other reason for that other than that they were fearful somebody was going to get in the room. Maybe they were having, theft problems. I'm not sure. But yeah, I see here somebody's talking about the autopsy and the no toxicology. Here we go. Yeah. Kathy Mabbitt, I mean, she's just another mess. I mean, it's just one thing after another with this case, but she said, yeah, no toxicology, not necessary. So, that's just ridiculous. So thanks there, hilly terrain. It's a good one. But yeah, you got, people saying stuff like that are the coroner, the official word. She didn't even show up there till 6:30 or 6, I think, 5:30, 6 o'clock. That's like 13 hours, 14 hours after the bodies were expired. So I mean, that really lessens the accuracy of the time of death estimate. The longer it takes for them to come out and do that. And I learned a little bit about that. I know they measured the temperature of the body, but then, the body eventually gets down to room temperature. And then, other things start happening. But the rigor mortis stage is where they would have been. So, everything like that, it makes it harder to figure out what happened when the bodies are in that rigor mortis stage where you can't move them or anything. So, or at least not easily. So, it's a really, really messed up situation if she's not telling the truth, because she's telling us it's really gory, and then you got these kids on this 911. I just keep saying kids. These people on this 911 call wanting to be, talking about somebody being passed out. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, I think a 2-year-old would know the difference between somebody laying there look like they're sleeping or somebody laying there butchered to death. I think that would be a pretty obvious difference between those two. Not to mention the fact that Ethan was in the room. So you get this dude, he's like, what, 6'2", 6'3"? He's a big guy, right? That room looked like it was a closet. It was so small. So you get this 6 foot something dude in the room with you, and you're going in there to assess whether she's passed out and breathing. You mean to tell me you don't see her wounds on top of the guy that you had to walk over to get to her? That's 6 foot something. It's ridiculous. I mean, when I think of what Kathy Mabbitt was talking about, I'm thinking like helter skelter kind of stuff. Manson. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking about doing a video comparing the Manson murders to these murders, the way the media covered it and stuff. So, you got all sorts of issues with this stuff. But yeah, one says it's the bloodiest, most horrible thing, and then these guys saying, she looks like she's passed out. Yeah, she's she's not breathing. Or how would you know that unless you were up close to her? And if you were up close to her, how in the world did you not see all the rest of it? So one of the two of them is lying. I mean, you can't have it both ways there. And I know that there's potentially the cleanup crew. Okay, well, the cleanup crew could not have cleaned it up to the point that you wouldn't know that this person was butchered. Might be able to clean up some of the evidence that could have been left behind, or the footprints in like common areas and stuff, maybe that kind of thing. But other than that, I mean, I don't really know what people are thinking there with that evidence. It's just, I don't know. It's concerning to me to think about. The coroner says it's the bloodiest scene ever, and then these college kids saying it's she's passed out, not waking up. It just doesn't add up to me. Like Lucky says, it just doesn't make sense, right? It just doesn't. I mean, if somebody was telling you a story like that, I mean, would you believe it? Anybody that's got kids, teenage kids, they come in and tell you some wild tale about something, you know when they're full of crap. You got that sensor in you that can tell whether they're lying or whether they're telling you the truth. So very good. Just looking here through the chat. I'm gonna throw a couple of let's see. Got murdermetalmayhem.com. That's the website. You can get some info. I need to update the site. It needs it bad. I need to get that done. But you could go to the web store there. We got t-shirts. Got some activity books. Those are fun. Adult activity books. You got to see it to believe it. But Murder Metal Mayhem, being silly. But murdermetalmayhem.com, you can do that. Matter of fact, we're getting ready to relaunch the podcast. So when I got sick at the end of May, that was all on hold. Didn't even know if I was going to be able to do it again. But I'm feeling strong. I think my voice is pretty much back. Feel like I'm able to do it. So we're going to take a scaled down version of the podcast. We'll do episodes in an hour or less, and they'll be structured a little bit differently. And so getting ready to start that here at the end of April, which marks our 7 years since we've been doing this. And we've got like 265 or 266 episodes. And they're all here on the channel. So if you want to check it out, but be warned, it's a lot different than these. It's not just me. It's me with a couple of other hosts, and the language is rough and the humor is rough. So if that's not your thing, don't go listen to it. But if you like that, then go check it out. It's pretty wild. We have a cage match each week where we take serial killers and have them fight to the death in the cage. It's a lot of fun, but it's not for everybody. So if that sounds like your kind of bag, then go check it out. murdermetalmayhem.com. My writing, I've got free samples on my website. You can read parts of the books if you want, see if it's your thing or not. PeteAltieri.com. The web store is the same one as Murder Metal Mayhem, so we share it. But you can buy any of my books that way. And if you're from out of the U.S., it tells you on there what to do, but you just send me an email with your address, and then I'll figure out the postage and let you know what the upcharge would be to send it to you. So it's just that cheap. I know I had a t-shirt somebody won in a live I did, and it was to Sweden, and it was $30 just to send them the shirt. I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, it's cool that somebody at Sweden's got a Murder Metal Mayhem shirt, but still, that's a lot of money. So, and there's some info there on the Cash App and the PayPal if anybody wanted to do that before we go today. All right. Well, I think now I'm going to try. I've not done this in StreamYard. I've done it in Zoom many, many times. But I'm going to play you this video. All right. So have some fun with it. We're here. We just passed that. We're an hour and 8 minutes. So I like to do these in 90 minutes or less. So we're winding it down. But I figured if you stuck around this long, I'd at least let you see this. And again, some of you may have already seen it because it's been out there on YouTube for quite a long time. But this is a song that I wrote and that we performed in this music video. And hopefully it works. So somebody in the chat will have to let me know if it's working here. We're hitting 200, passing 200 people watching this, so that's cool. But yeah, I used to sing and play bass. We were together for 18 years. It was a lot of fun. We did some touring, but not a lot. We all had day jobs, and kids and all that. So we did what we could, but it was a lot of fun doing it. Great group of people. I don't regret it at all. So here we go. Let's see how this works. I'm going to share the screen. Okay. There you go. I don't know if you guys can hear. I can't hear that at all. There I am. Somebody let me know in the chat if you can hear that. I can't hear it here, but I don't have headphones in, so that may be why. Hopefully you can hear it. I won't let up until you're drowned. I'm in your face. I'm in your dreams. I'm the worst looking nightmare you've ever seen. I am best. So yeah, there you have it. A little heavy metal, low 12, brutal world. But it's a good one. I'll probably wind up getting copyright strike video. It's a brutal world. There you go. What you guys think about that? And like I said, it may not be. So you got a little taste of that. If you want to see the rest of it, yeah, just type in local Google World. It'll be there. We've got several other videos. Several others, if you like that. I had a couple that the YouTube took off because they didn't like it. I don't bother. It's YouTube. Very cool. All right. Looking here if anybody's got any questions or anything. Yeah, I just saw this one from Tony Stevenson. Drawings of eyebrows and eyeballs flashed all over the room. Very, very crazy. We did a podcast, a guy called the Texas Eyeball Killer. That's what reminded me of this because this guy was obsessed with eyes. His mom used to teach him taxidermy. He was a little kid. She was a single mom and trying to keep her son busy, and she thought he liked that, so he got obsessed with the eyes. That's what got him hooked. And so yeah, he had pictures of eyes with him. And that made me think of this as well. Yeah, kind of creepy. And that may be where she got that little, eyebrow issue. Because I mean, where else you're staring at all these eyes with eyebrows all over you. If she was really hammered like that, I could see where that could have come into play. But to be honest with you, I think they somehow got caught up in this whole idea of her being, manipulated. And she was just this fragile girl that was just totally, freaked out and come up with something to describe a person without being too descriptive. And an eyebrow is about as non-descriptive as you can get. A bushy eyebrow, they talk about what one person says is bushy, another one says it's not. I mean, that's just ridiculous. If that would have even been in the cards, but it was, and so I think that was probably a big part of where that came from either the detective, her, or both. If they're standing in her room and he's talking to her, let's say, I don't know where they did if they did everything at the police station. I don't know. I mean, wouldn't that be cool to see those videos? Investigation interviews they did with her and the others, because any other true crime case, you get to see that stuff. So why don't we see it with this case? And why is this case so hush hush? That's why we all enamored with Idaho 4, because I think we're just so confused as to why. Why would you go through all of this, put the blame on this guy? What is there that you don't want us to really see? It's like a little kid that's in trouble trying to hide from his parents what he or she did. They did something, they're hiding it. They're not going to act like that if they don't hide. So what are they hiding? And that's what I think has got all of us just completely stupefied. What the hell is going on? All right. Let's see. Didn't want to mention the media thing. I mean, you guys, when we talked about you know, the media overhype everything that's negative. Brian Kohlberger. The ski mask thing is ridiculous. Balaclava. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, that is common for people that are outdoors, people that are running, which we know Brian did a lot of running inside. I mean, he's in Washington State in the winter. If he bought a scarf, would we be wondering about that too? I mean, that's just ridiculous. It's just totally ridiculous. And then, then the cop shows her the balaclava because she wasn't able to explain the mask, the type of mask, that it was different than a regular ski mask. And then he shows her a picture of that, and then the next day, I think it was, she drew that. And so they're trying to hang their hat on cliff. Look, that's a rendition of a balaclava. Well, if it is, I mean, it's a 5-year-old did. If she's supposed to be this inspiring artist, who really look very lifelike, but nonetheless, that's what she drew. So talk about being influential. I think that's probably what happened. She's very easily manipulated, especially coming off of something crazy like that. Whether she was involved or not, it would have been a complete rush of emotion, I'm sure, and she would have been probably not making decisions like she would had she not been in that frame of mind, you know. So looking here, 20 minutes, so we're winding it down. All right, why don't we do this book giveaway? All right. So here I got a copy of Creation of Chaos 4. Okay, I've got Creation of Chaos is the series I do on the short stories. So they're all short stories. Here's Creation of Chaos 4. So here's the question. I'm going to give you a minute to answer, and then I'm just going to randomly pick somebody in the chat, and that's who will win the book. Got to be in the U.S. though, okay? I'm sorry about that. That's just the way it is. But here's the question. See if you can answer it as quickly as possible. If this is Creation of Chaos 4, how many other creations of chaos? That's unbelievable. Easy, but I want everybody to help. So how many of these have I done if this is before this? Let's see, I'll give you a few minutes. I'll give you a couple of minutes to see how many we get. I think you like the book. I've got a lot of good stories in this one. The back of the book got the picture and then a little synopsis of what the book is about. You know, about the Bone Chapel. And I did one on grave robbing in Scotland that they did for the doctors. Um, that, that's in this book too. And it was a common practice, with these people doing the medical schools that they had people working in the field that would go and take the bodies out of the ground and bring them to the doctors and they paid for they were called correction men. Totally fascinating. But I wrote a story about it called Death of the Resurrection. It turned out pretty cool. Wow, here's Tina B, a member for 5 months. Thank you, Tina. That's really nice of you. Saying the audio is messed up. I don't know if they can't hear me now or if they can hear me when the video plays. Because I'm not sure. Let's see here. check. Looks like it's working. Maybe we'll put the video. I'm not sure. I hope that it's okay. But thank you, Tina, for being a member for 5 months. So I'm trying to see if we get any people that want to play the game here. Any of these have I done? All right, I see some people in here. All right. Give you another minute or so. We got a couple of entries in here. But yeah, these books, I have an artist that does the cover, Brian Usual from Chicago. He does the covers for me. Really, really cool. This is the Bone Chapel, so this is really a dark one. But and then of course I do the writing, and then my wife is my editor, and she does the proofreading for the grammar and stuff, and then she puts the inside the stuff together. So it's a team effort, and yeah, I've got 4 of those, and then 2 novels, and then I'm working on the fiction book about what I went through this last summer. Really. All right, so let's pick somebody here. Let me say it's muffled. That's all right. I hope that's all right. I don't know. I don't know what would be muffled about it, guys. All right, so let's see here. Did see a few that entered. I'm going to throw one up on the screen. All right, Carol Burchett, you win the book. Very good math there. 3 collections of creations of chaos before number 4. Very good, Carol. Email me, Carol, at Pete at murdermetalmayhem.com and give me your snail mail, and I'll send that out to you. I'll try to get these books all out this week. So the ones that got a contest last week, I'm sorry to get it out to you sooner, but I will do it this week for you. So we'll get those out. But very, very good. All right. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about? We've got a few minutes here before we close it up, but I do want to thank you guys for being a part of the live today. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you comment. And if you're not a subscriber, please do so. I just passed 10,500. So we hit the half mark there after 10. So getting up there to 11. So really, really gaining new ground and lots of new people. So those of you that are new, welcome. And like to do these every week. Next weekend, Sunday, 4 p.m. Central. Be here or be square, because me and AR Hayes will be doing that live together. So that'll be amazing. And AR is a great guy, and we always have fun doing stuff together. So we'll do that next Sunday for you. If you're a member in the Horns High Club, thank you very much. You guys are amazing. And just because you're amazing, I'm going to do that live for you guys. Special members only live tomorrow at 4 o'clock. I'll get the stuff out on that. I haven't set it up yet, but I will. So if you can't make it, I think you could do it on a replay. I wouldn't see why not. But I've never done one of those before, so I don't know if there's anything different about the lives for members only as compared to these. But I'll find out. We'll get it right. But that's all I got today. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about, but I don't want to start something new this late in the game. But I appreciate you guys coming on and hanging out with me today, and for being super cool and supportive of Murder Metal Mayhem. So we'll see you next time. Rock on.